Hello, welcome back to Falcon Blues TV, you filthy animals. Very happy to have Jim Keogan on the show. Jim, first time, thanks very much.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I used to quite enjoy your videos with Adam Partington on a Grand Old Team.
Yeah, that was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I seen Adam at Stoke on Saturday with his dad as well, so it's good to see him. It's been a while, but there is a link below for some of Jim's books, and we will get to that later on. But Jim, I do have to ask. I know it's a tough one, but what do you make of Everton's pre-season so far?
I think the obvious thing is just a lack of firepower. When you watch the pre-season games, I mean, there's plenty to like about it. They seem more robust than they have been in past seasons. Whether the teams we've played have been that much of a test, but going forward, I mean, there's nothing, is there? Really, we're so blunt. When you think last season, like the forward line got, I think it was what was it, 4 goals. It's obvious what the problem is. I mean, I think beyond the forward line, we're sort of a mid-table team. Like defensively, we aren't that bad, especially on the dice. So it's a kind of an obvious area that has needed addressing. And yet we're kind of just less than a few weeks out from the start of the season. And you look at that team and you don't really know where the goals come from, which is a massive worry.
Yeah, we are lacking a cutting edge. And look, I know it's a tough job for anyone to play up front for Everton, but I don't think Neil Maupay is suited to play up front on his own. And I know we got a goal yesterday, which hopefully will do his confidence a bit of good. But we are getting linked with Youssef Chimiti. And I've just seen Alan Myers saying that they expect a medical to be done in the next few days. And when I was a young lad, I've seen some mixed reports on Twitter and stuff. But the best review I seen of him was he's a bit shit at the minute, but he's got all the tools to be a good player one day. So I thought, oh well, that's about Everton, innit? And we'll sell him once he becomes a good player.
Yeah, but I mean, is he being brought in as the answer? I mean, that's what he's made, because obviously he seems like he's one for the future. Mm-hmm. But our problem is now. So if we're going to go into this season again, pinning all our hopes on Calvert-Lewin somehow getting through 30 odd games, because as you said, Neil Maupay is not the answer. He's not. Doesn't seem suited to how Dyche wants to play. He wasn't even good before Dyche came. So. It's great that Everton are signing players, but you're kind of thinking, this can't be it. It has to be something else brought in to kind of suit how Dyche wants to play. Because when we play with Calvert-Lewin fit, but a much better outfit. So obviously you'd imagine he wants that sort of player to be on hand just in case Calvert-Lewin has another one of those seasons. So. Yeah, it's always nice when we sign somebody, and it's great that they're looking at the forward line. But as you said, if his review is he's a bit shit at the moment, but he might come good, then that's not what we need right now.
No, and we don't need to. We know what our fans can be like and ourselves. Imagine a young lad up there with all that pressure on himself, and he's going to have to start most of the games because we know what the injury record's like. And look, I know he's been involved yesterday. I think with Calvert-Lewin, we should adopt the Ledley King approach a bit and maybe just, limit the training a bit, swimming, cycling, put him in cotton wool. We know how important he is, but we're a much better team when he plays. And you could see towards the end of last season, once he got a few games under his belt and a few minutes, he started to look a lot sharper as well. And, that Brighton game, I think he set the first goal up, didn't he, quite early on. And he was just a menace all game. Same when we played Leicester as well. But we're going to have to. We'd hope at this point. I'm concerned because I thought we would have had a few more players in by now. But obviously we've got to sell first, and it all seems to have went quiet. With remember Onana was getting linked with Chelsea. They're saying a deal could be in place with Fulham for Damari Gray. But again, if Dwight McNeil's out injured, we've got no real wingers. Alex Iwobi's played right wing most of these games. And we know he's better suited playing in midfield than being a winger, but we need a good 4-5 player still. It's yeah.
I think we need kind of a source for maybe 20 more goals. I think that's what you need. You need the winger who can produce the same as McNeil, and a forward you can chip in with maybe, you're not asking for the air. If you're saying maybe 12, 13 goals, if you add another like 20 goals to Everton season, then suddenly we're like a mid-table, maybe kind of outer edges of Europa team, which is kind of what we are. It's just that kind of that punch going forward that we just haven't got. And can you say, like, it's, you know, it's I thought more would have been done by now, because it's not that complicated, is it? You look at Everton, you don't have to be like a football genius to work out what our problem is. And, you know, if it's not addressed, a bit like last season, if you don't address it early on, we're just throwing away points. It's, you know, there's no point addressing it at the end of August and waiting to the very end of the window. We need like players in now, because we have winnable games in the first few weeks of the season, and the way past seasons have been, I think we need all the points we can get.
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember quite early on last season, before the transfer window would shut, once I think it was once Neil Maupay had signed, Lampard called and said, look, this can't happen again. You know, where he knows the situation and the board know it. And he, like, remember last season we started with, I think Anthony Gordon was playing up front for a couple of games, and we even tried McNeil because he had to. And, you know, look, I know there's a couple of young promising players like Dobbin and Tom Cannon and stuff like that, but we don't really want to be putting all these players under this much pressure. We need someone in. I mean, I seen Weghorst is getting linked again, and I can't see Burnley going, yeah, let's give away one of our, you know, better players to Everton. You know, that's a good idea, isn't it, business-wise? So, you know, there's a couple of still free transfers that I wouldn't mind to see. The lad Dembele used to be at Celtic, and Leon, he looks like he's on a free. I think Adam Traore was still on a free, but I think he might be going to Turkey. But these are players, if we've got no money, you know what I mean? Give them a year or two and see what we can get out of them.
Definitely. I mean, something. I think that's the key. You can't go into the season in pretty much the same shape as we were last year. You know, just switching maybe Danjuma for Gordon as the equivalent. I mean, that's still not enough. It's there's definitely a sense of, I mean, amongst the fans, there's a feeling of urgency, and what you don't get from the club, but you don't get much from the club, do you really? But you don't get the sense from the club that they're sharing this feeling that, like, we, you know, this can't be repeated. We can't open the season. You know, if we open the season with more pay up front, that's a terrible indictment of Everton's recruitment, because it's obvious what's wrong. It's obvious what doesn't work. So, I mean, you're only talking a few more days, really, before it all starts. And I don't feel particularly confident that we will have the right team in place when Fulham come to town, which is, you know, it's a level of anxiety that you don't need as Evertonian. Already your anxiety is kind of up here before the season starts, and Everton's kind of recruitment just loading more layers kind of onto you, and it's horrible.
No, I completely agree. I can empathise with that feeling. I remember that right after the Bournemouth games, I said, look, it's not something to celebrate. There's still a lot of work to be done. And, you know, I understand his hands are tired, and I'm hoping that if players don't come in and certain results go against us, people don't go, oh, let's sack him. You know what I mean? Because we've chopped and changed that many times. I think Pep would struggle to do a job with this Everton board. You know what I mean? If you're losing your best players, and, you know, I mean, look how much money's been sold. Anthony Gordon money, you had the Moise Keane money, and that's obviously most of it's probably to balance the books.
Yeah.
You know, but there is players coming back through injury. I know Michael Enko was involved yesterday, Calvert-Lewin. Dele's still a few weeks away from being full fitness, but, you know, he could be a real answer to us, really. You know, I know it's very empowering, the story he's told, and, you know, I think everyone, not just Everton fans, I think every football fan wants to see him really do well now. So I know it's like 10 million or something if he plays a couple more games, but could be a snip if he's still 27. You know what I mean? I still hope that he can still become the player that he was once believed to be. And obviously, you know, the stuff he's went through is terrible, and it's such a powerful message what he's done, and opens up for a lot of other people to maybe do something similar or speak up. You know, because I work in mental health, but there is still a stigma towards mental health, especially with men. Because, like Super Kev said with us, you know what it's like sometimes, strong silent type was the motto years ago. But what's your thoughts on Dele? Do you think he'll, once he's fully fit, he'll be given a chance?
Well, I mean, he should be at his peak, shouldn't he? 27. He should be kind of like hitting kind of the heights of his footballing ability. You want a happy ending to that story, don't you? Because he's been through so much, and he has so much talent. You really want him to do well. Whether we're the right club for someone like that. I mean, Goodison's a difficult place to play for most people. If you're particularly fragile, I don't know if it's the most comfortable environment. So I don't really know. Prior to all this, he hasn't really shown much for us, but obviously he's been going through a lot. So we've got, is it something like 10 games before we have to pay the full whack? So
apparently so, yeah.
Yeah, so we can give him a whirl and kind of see what happens. But it's I don't know if it's something we can kind of base our season on. It's kind of a hope, isn't it? I think. So yeah, it'd be nice if it worked out for him, but I'm not entirely convinced if it will work out for him at Everton.
Within the reasonable, modest amount of money we'll probably have to spend. Let's say Damari Gray goes for whatever 20 million or whatever. Let's hope he goes to Saudi and we get more money. But who would you like to see us sign realistically? And with a realistic, obviously we're not going to spend 50 million on someone. But what one player would you like to see?
Oh, that's a really good question, there. Because there are multiple areas that need addressing. Because I think a lot of us been focusing on the front line, but almost kind of under the radar, Michael Keane has played 3-4 pre-season games, and then you forget that there's a big hole, a Mina-shaped hole in the defense that needs fixing. So if we have 50 million to spend.
Well, we'll say less than that. I mean, we were not going to sign on for 50 million, but let's say in the round 25 to 30 million range. And maybe I'll be optimistic there, but
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I think mainly we need somebody up front who can mimic what Calvert-Lewin does when he probably will get injured again. So if we were to be linked with somebody like Bakayokos, or even like this morning I saw, I mean, he's not particularly exciting play, but Mikel Antonio would suit that sort of role. He's
definitely, yeah.
He holds the ball up well. He doesn't score bags of goals, but he's a handful. So someone, if you could use some of the budget there. And then I know it probably cost more than that, but I know we've been linked with Maguire. I know he's fallen out of form and he's probably not Man United good, but I think he's probably Everton good. He'd probably do a club of our level, and he's certainly, you would hope he's an upgrade on Michael Keane. Because you don't want to see players like Keane or Holgate playing for us again, really, because they've had years of, kind of tried by different managers, given loads of opportunity, and kind of let us down on pretty much every occasion. So if we've got so many millions to spare, you want those two positions addressed. And if players like that were kind of they do mean, I think they'd suit what Dyche wants to do. I don't think we're going to be particularly flamboyant in how we play. It's going to be basic at the back and aggressive and direct. And you want those sort of players in your team. So yeah, if some miracle occurs and we've got loads of millions to spend, then they're kind of three names that I'd be kind of interested in.
Yeah, got experience as well, and like you say, big, tall lad, can hold the ball up. He's got a bit of pace. And if you're playing up front for Everton, you're going to have to work hard, aren't you?
Yeah,
exactly. You're not going to get bountiful of chances and stuff like that. So I'd go for that. Jim, we have got a link for you there, for your wonderful Everton books down below. You can click that link, everyone. Click it now. My favourite name of the one is the highs, lows, and Bakayokos, to be fair.
I'm proud of that.
Yeah. But what was it? Ibrahim Bakayokos, who used to get nicknames.
That's right. Yeah.
But scored 2 great goals against Blackburn.
He did. Wasn't that it, I think? Wasn't it kind of, for 4.5 million? Yeah. I think he was I think he was meant to be like 21, but he was like 32 or something. I think we got done all kinds of ways on him. So I think he was kind of a good. He was indicative of where Everton were back then. Like we kind of that's the sort of player we buy. We waste $4.5 million on just an absolute sack of shit.
Great on Championship Manager as well, though. He's one of those players, one of those dream gems you're meant to get. The Everton number 9 book is a gift, a book that I've gifted to someone at Christmas, and they really enjoyed it. And Everton's Greatest Games is something I've received as a gift, and they're kind of the 3 that I've read. So, but there is plenty of other books down below as well. Are you working on anything new, Jim? If you're able to say, or
I'm just in the process of finishing and fact checking, which is well boring. It's everything you want to know about Everton, but we're afraid to ask. So it's kind of it covers everything that we've done pretty much, but it includes. Though it's not too dry. It includes things in there like your book of the
list.
Yeah, so stuff like that, and our favorite kind of horrible red stripe moments. So it's not just a kind of dry collection of stats. There's bits in there about kind of the lighter side of Everton, I guess. But so I'm just finishing that now. I'm hoping to get it out. If I can get through this fact check, and I'll get it out for the Wolves game, hopefully.
Well, Jim, when it's coming out, please come back on again and we can talk about it. And I fully agree, it's not going to be dry. All your books are very entertaining. You're a funny guy as well. You actually changed my point of view on Peter Johnson in a way, because when I grew up, I was born in '88, so I sort of grew up like he was the enemy. You know what I mean? But when you look back, like when I was the things you've discussed, is like he did really well at Tranmere. You know what I mean? And he did win a trophy under Everton, and he did back, certain managers with money. We signed some big players. Don't get me wrong, there was a lot that he did wrong and all. Like the Steve Simonson deal was a bit dodgy. I always thought, world record fee for a young goalkeeper, and he had shares at Tranmere. It's
he wasn't perfect, but as you said, with Johnson, it started well. We spent money. We won a cup. We finished 6th. Bakayokos, who was, arguably one of the best players we've had in the Premier League era, if not the best. And then it just sort of went off a cliff when he kind of lost interest and he couldn't really afford to run us. So unlike McBeary, at least we did have good times, to use that horrible phrase, under Johnson. Whereas, obviously under the modern owner, it's just been absolutely dreadful from kind of start to finish.
What are you talking about, Jim? We've had good times,
Yeah, I forgot that.
Yeah, it's not been the best, but you know what? I'm always kind of a half glass full type of person. Our time will come again, I hope. But I remember the season when we finished 4th, and we just sold Rooney, Radzinski. Everyone was gutting us, and we got battered 4-1 at home by Arsenal the opening game, and even I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a struggle." This, and then suddenly, it just Marcus Bent become like Thierry Henry for a bit, the best workhorse ever. Well, that may be an overstatement, obviously, but he done his job well, and that was a surprising season. Now, by the way, I'm not expecting that this season, but I would be happy to take the dizzy heights of 15th. Trust me, oof.
Promised land, that is, yeah. I know mid-table mediocrity is kind of what I'm hoping for this year.
That's the dream. Remember, like 10 years ago when we were all moaning, going, "We need to take that next step." Bring me back to those good old days now.
Yeah, but hopefully, you never know, do you? That's the thing. Everton often surprise you when you least expect it. So you never know. This season we might sign somebody who can score goals, and before you know it, we're kind of pushing for Europe. It's unlikely, but you never know, do you?
You got to dream, eh? You got to be optimistic.
Yeah.
My optimism normally fizzes out by the end of the transfer window and start of September. Maybe we can get top 6 or something. Maybe we could just stick around 14th for a bit. We'll be all right. But the ball's not been kicked yet, so let's hope for the best, Adrian.
Right now, everything's possible. Right now, we can still win the league. We can still do all sorts. Right now, until the ball's being kicked, and then it's like, oh shit, But like right now, just be excited.
Yeah, do you know what though? I would like to see us getting that Papa John's Trophy final. You go to Wembley, that you do.
Yeah. But
Maybe you get a free slice of Papa John's pizza or something.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. But listen, Jim, this has been great. And when the new book's coming out, please come on again. And don't forget to press the links below for Jim's books. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Up the fucking toffees. Colin Chong.